No, like so Apollo is like the physician, right? And then
Mm.
who's Apollo's son? Can't remember the name. Well, Apollo's son is that's the symbol of
Oh yeah,
the winged DNA, right? That's used for
yeah.
the medical industry. And he basically lays out, doesn't he, that the horseman, the first horseman, is basically like the medical empire.
That the wife of Apollo was named Corona. I'm not making that up, guys. Easily verifiable. Here's where it gets even more sinister. Apollo and Corona had a son. His name was Asclepius. Now for the second picture. Asclepius is the god of medicine. Here is a picture that you need to see because this is the symbol for both Apollo and Asclepius.
Yeah, I knew I printed one out actually. I knew we had to be in the first seal with COVID. It was just too strong. We're done with it.
Yeah, so basically what he's putting down is that the first seal, what is that, four seals, right?
Well, there's four. That's the four horsemen. There's seven
Four.
altogether. But
Yeah,
the sixth seal would be the return of the Phoenix event in
yeah.
2040.
So yeah, he's basically yeah, but it's about just the way he lays it out. It's unbelievable,
Yeah,
unbelievable. The
but
reference to
the first that
so what
first
is it? The
seal,
harp, right? Because he speaks about the harp, not the harp. Sorry,
the
the
bow
bow,
and arrow.
the bow, the
Yeah,
bow.
yeah, yeah, and the arrow is the magic.
Yeah, it's pretty undeniable the way he puts that
Yeah,
presentation forward, which is yeah, it's pretty interesting when you think it, and it would tie
yeah.
into like we're at the building up to this. If it's to 2040, right? We've got another.
So that would average. That's about 3 years or so, 3.5 years per seal. And that's what they've done with COVID. And you can sort of see they're starting to. So the first seal, for anyone that doesn't know, it's the antichrist, the false messiah, worldwide deception, given a crown. That's the white horse. And like he makes that reference, the white horse is all the doctors in their white jackets,
Yeah,
the white coats. Yeah.
and
And the second,
Apollo's wife was Corona,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Apollo wears the crown as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the sun god. He's a sun
Well,
god,
that's why
god of
if
light.
you're talking to yeah, well, that was like the Apollo reference when they're putting the purple on the shrine too, because that's another reference to Corona.
Yeah.
Purple is the Corona.
Kind
But
of all around.
I mean the whole coronavirus, man. It was it's really it's a mind. I mean, it is a mind virus with the fact that it's going to the crown, but it's like we're like harboring these
Yeah.
deities, these beings, right, to come in.
Yep, and that's so when we went to the shrine, we sort of said this has to be some sort of portal, some sort of tool that they're using. And then Jason also makes reference they're trying to summon Apollo back, and they need portals to do it. So that's what all these things are. It's probably why that energy in Melbourne is so dense for the last 3 years in particular, because they're probably doing this what they're doing at the moment.
So would you suggest that this is just one of a grid of these buildings all around? And I guess a lot of them were destroyed in the ancient world.
Yeah.
It's almost maybe this is like the new modern inception of trying to bring forth those beings or those gods.
I think so, and I don't know what the tablets of destinies or the Ark of the Covenant, what that would actually be. These 10 Commandments. I mean, to me, it's some sort of code, potentially some sort of code that stops their ability to do this. Hence, why they don't want anyone other than themselves to have it. Because I read into the Ark of the Covenant or the tablets of destinies, whatever, wherever they're located. Once an empire changes power, that stone must be removed every time an empire takes over, so it changes. And the building that they were in previously must be destroyed. So that's why King Solomon's temple was destroyed. So they've been moved from there. And if you look into this, they don't deny that the Stone of Destinies or tablet, whatever, they don't deny that they exist, so that no one knows where they are. Same as King Solomon's temple. They just say, oh, well, we don't know if it actually exists and we don't know where it is if it does. Well, it either does or it doesn't. You wouldn't say, we just don't know where it is.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't exist.
Yeah, it's but that's that's even the like the planning around the rebuilding of New Solomon's temple too, that because you have to destroy to bring in the new, and that's kind of part of the plan that they're talking about, destroying the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah.
In Jerusalem to rebuild the new temple.
Yeah.
But is that the most obvious one though? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not always the obvious.
No. But then you have to look at, so now you've got the second seal, which I think is what they're brewing now. So if you're looking, they're taking about 3.5 years to run each of these seals, which would get you to about 2040 for the sixth, which would be the major cataclysm, the Phoenix event.
Yeah, so
but
go into the second seal.
So the second is World War III begins. So whether and I don't think that's the whole Ukraine thing, that'll be potentially like we were talking about with the Palestine-Israel thing. That'll probably be that.
Although, the Ukraine thing's the build-up to the Middle Eastern war. Yeah.
Yeah. So World War III begins, Antichrist rises to power, great sword of destruction, and the red horse. So whatever that's going to be.
So what's the red horse?
I don't know. Don't know.
I was quite blown away that he referenced that. He said, the Bible never says horseman. That's the English interpretation. And what does he say, that the first horse is a what do they call it, a centaur?
Yeah, so that's the half man, half horse.
It's actually, there's no horseman at all. It's a half man, half horse.
Yeah.
It's the first horse, right? I couldn't believe that. And just the horse, I've never heard of the horse reference to medicine as the Hippocratic Oath. So they're saying that when the doctors take the oath, they take the oath to Apollo. They reference Apollo.
Yeah. And that's why I wondered whether this whole the Palestine thing, because Jason has said in a previous video, at some point they're going to brew this whole, they're building up this Christian revival at the moment, which will be then Palestine taking, like they'll try and take over Israel, take it back.
Yeah.
And then you look at, Britain had so much of a hold over Palestine for so long. They had that 1917 Balfour Agreement. So I'm thinking, why on earth did Britain want anything to do with Palestine? But of course, it's originally Canaan.
Yeah.
So Canaan goes back to Nimrod again. So Canaan was also established under Nimrod. So that's why they want it. It's why it's so important to them. It's bringing back this whole Babylon era.
Well, it's just everything. History repeating. You can even see the build up to how they're going into the Holy Land. That's what, even like the Ukrainian thing now. It's constant. It's the reference is that they were funneling. It's going to come out that they're funneling money into Ukraine to give money to Iran, so Iran could attack Israel. And that's that. There's little stories coming out like that now all the time, and this is why we're starting to hear the anti-S word come out a lot more now, because they're building up to that mega ritual that they want to play out in the Middle East. Yeah.
Well, it's you can certainly see how they're building up this whole narrative, the whole Babylon thing. Because everyone's like, oh, as if they're going to be able to bring back Babylon. I think they're literally doing it now. It's happening right around us, and we're not really noticing.
Yeah.
They are literally doing it, because you can sort of say the Ottoman Empire could really have had a lot to do with the whole Babylon narrative, Akkadian Empire. So they don't make any reference to who is the current empire that's in control. Because if you look now, if you go and look at all the large empires of the history, it showed that the British Empire was the largest in the early 20th century. So like, well, who is it now? Because it doesn't say anything after the British Empire. So they're not developing.
To me, that word, there's no way that's accidental. That they're very careful with their words. If it was British Empire, they would say British Empire. And I have heard in some circles that the controlling hidden hand is just referred to as empire. The whole thing is empire, right? So
Right.
It's almost I would, if you go back to the Apollo reference in that too, I would almost say and Babylon, that it's like it's the unseen empire. That's the ruling hand. It's the unseen, and that's empire, right? It's not even a physical empire. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense, because that's how they've written it all through this book. It's not the empire, it's just empire.
Yeah.
But they had to get for that coin, the coin to go into the stone in the, I think it's in the sanctuary. But for that to go into the stone, they had to ask empire.
Yeah.
Not the empire, just empire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm convinced of that. Yeah, it's the unseen empire. It's these demonic realm that they're trying to recreate and bring in.
Yep. And they're using these buildings. That's why the granite was so important. They were really particular about the kind of granite that was built for the shrine. And any remodeling, they've tried to get that same granite. And the granite was, like we've mentioned in the first one, anything that you look at as a significant building, they've all been constructed out of granite.
Yeah.
All of them.
Like, so you mentioned last time too, with the granite too, because this goes into the reference of the mother and the mother from the mountains as well, and to bring the energy of the mother from the creation of the mountain into like a solidified place of, like, say, the shrine.
Yeah. So they said that the Magna Mater she was connected to the mountains and to stone in particular. And they said, and references to her to the Black Rock. Well, that company sounds familiar. So, and that hence why that stone, the plaque that's in the sanctuary, in the crypt that's got the where the love lights up, that's done out of black marble. So you think that, I mean, they, again, like you said, they don't mince up what they do. They're doing all this very specifically, but that had the reference to the mother goddess. So she was the first revered goddess in the world. But again, all of them, like all the stories are the same. If you read into all the goddesses, the stories are the same. A lot of the gods, the stories are pretty much the same too. Yeah. So it's just different names depending on what part of the world and what era it was from. But ultimately, they just change names. And again, protest to confuse
everything. Makes me think of like, because Trump uses, they say MAGA, right? They're all the MAGA.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
But it's definitely the woman too, because that's like the Magdalene again. It's that MAGA. Yeah.
Yeah.